Keep it simple, phone tech here. We're going to do something a little bit different. This is flagships of the past, and we're going to do a review on the HTC One M9. The One M9 is the 2015 flagship from HTC. It was a follow-up to the One M8, which was a follow-up to the One M7, going back to 2014, 2013, respectively. The 2015 version of the HTC One, still one of the best looking smartphones back then, and it's still one of the best looking phones today. It's aluminum all the way around. The aluminum case, the aluminum frame, and just a beautiful premium look and feel in the hand. Screen is 5 inches. It's an LCD screen. And its colors, they're not overly saturated by any means. They're a little muted, I would say, anyhow. So colors don't necessarily pop, but it's still very sufficient. It's still a very good looking screen. It's something that back then, if you had that phone, or if you have that phone currently, I would say that it ranks up there with even many of the screens today on some of the flagship phones. Definitely of some of their mid-range phones today, this screen would still hold its own. The front-facing speakers, HTC's Boom Sound, they're going to be some of the best speakers you're going to hear on any smartphone. Even today, here in 2019, it's just great, rich sound that comes out of a smartphone. Now again, it comes out of a smartphone, so we're not talking about this being like a Bose speaker or a JBL speaker or anything like that, but it still sounds good for a smartphone. Now, it comes with Dolby audio as well, so even when you plug into the headphone jack, you're going to also experience some richer than normal sound, extra bass, which you wouldn't normally get out of a smartphone without the Dolby audio. Whether that works with Bluetooth speaker as well, I'm guessing that it does. I haven't actually tested it with a Bluetooth speaker yet, but overall, front-facing speakers, the sound on this phone is great. It is exceptional. On the right side of this phone, you've got your power button here, and you've got your volume switches. You also have a micro SD card, or at least you have the option for it. I think up to 128 gigabytes. I couldn't quite find the specs on that, but don't quote me on that, but you can get a pretty good size SD card in here. But this is back in 2015 though, so you're not talking about getting like the 512 or 1 terabyte SD cards of today. These buttons here, they can easily be confused, but at least this is a little bit textured. That is the power button, so if you feel around enough, you can figure out which one is the power button and which one are the volume buttons. Top of the phone has an IR blaster, so this in conjunction with Peel Remote or whatever other remote app would work for this. It's pretty cool, so you can use that for your TV, your sound bar, your whatever else that you can attach to it, so that's kind of neat. And on the bottom, once again, you see the headphone jack, and this is a micro USB hookup here, so not USB-C on this model yet. That came out a year later on the HTC 10. And talking about specs, you have the Snapdragon 810 processor. It ran at about 2 gigahertz. It's an octa-core processor, 64-bit. Runs very smooth, even by today's standard. Now, this is combined with Android 7, and you can't get any higher than Android 7. So anything higher than Android 7, you'd have to force onto the phone, and I don't know how well it will work. But I'm sure that there are ways out there that you can, there's some sort of custom ROMs that you can put onto this phone to get into Android 8, for example. But with Android 7, this phone is smooth. Again, this is a 2015 flagship, and for a 2015 flagship, I would think that this phone could run with the mid-range phones of today here in 2019 just fine. I mean, the only downside is that you can't go any higher than the Android 7. And so that could be, say, if you're looking at this phone as like a backup phone or even like a primary phone, and you just wanted to get something like an older model. That would be a drawback perhaps. But otherwise, if that's not a big deal to you, again, very smooth operating phone, where it mixes news stories and then all of your Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, your social media type stuff. You can get it all in one spot here. Battery life If you're using this phone moderately, you'll probably be able to make it through the day into the night and get it charged. If you're using this phone heavily, I'll just tell you right now, if you're pushing this phone hard, you're going to need to recharge midday, for sure. No wireless charging on this particular model, but there is quick charging, so you can go from 0 to 50% in about 45 minutes or so, was my experience with that. If you are desperate for battery life, if you can't get to a charger in time, there is an option in your settings for extreme power saving mode. There's a little bit of details about it. You hit OK, you're going to get the very minimum. You're going to get the basics. You're going to get the ability to communicate, a calendar, emergency alerts, and then that's it. But at least that will get you to a point, or get you through the day, so that you can then get your phone charged up. The camera, rear-facing and front-facing cameras. Camera on the back has a 20 megapixel sensor. I believe it's a Sony sensor. It does really good in the light. So if you have good lighting conditions, you're not going to be disappointed with the detail or with the pictures that you come up with. You see that there's just a whole slew of filters and different effects that you can add. I'm going through right now. I'm flipping the picture around so you can really manipulate the picture quite a bit. Again, this is a camera from 2015, and as far as all the options that you have to manipulate and change the photo to your delight, there's no shortage of options within this particular camera. So that's the rear-facing camera. Of course, you're going to have the same effects for the front-facing camera as well. About that front-facing camera, again, good in good lighting conditions, struggles in low light conditions. Now this is a 4 megapixel, or it may even been called, I think, 4 ultra pixel camera. This was the rear-facing camera from the 2014 edition of the HTC One, the M8. It does good, as you can see, in light, and it shows pretty good detail. So long as the conditions are right, you're going to get good pictures. Here's a brief video example. You can do 1080p at 60 frames per second. You can do 4K at 30 frames per second. And I'm going to show you some low light pictures. Now this is with the flash, and I guess it's not too bad. You got some detail here. Maybe the flash sort of overpowered this particular picture just because I had the camera up so close to this flashlight here. But hey, not too bad in low light anyhow. In just a second, you're going to see another picture here that's actually in low light, and then you're going to see opportunity. And that is, you're going to see a lot of grain, you're going to see lack of detail. So again, this phone wasn't necessarily a low light specialist, but I don't think there were too many in 2015 anyways. Maybe the Galaxy S6 and the Note 5 back then. But overall, the cameras are not bad. So let's start to wind this video down. You might notice that there is a change in the sound, and that's because I noticed that there is some things wrong with the sound in the original production of this video, so now I'm having to do a voiceover. But hopefully that's not anything that's going to be too detrimental to you viewing this video, and this video being able to help you out. But in winding this video down, HTC One M9, again, 2015 flagship of the past. This thing can still run with, it can definitely run with the mid-range phones of today with the specs from back then. So something to consider. I got this particular phone on eBay. It is a refurbished model. You can see a few cracks on the top and bottom, but overall the phone looks really good. I think I paid about $55, $60 for it. There is an option to get a 2-year warranty for, I think it's $21, and they cover for any problems with the phone not working. You send it off and they fix it for you. They send it back. I don't think they do a replacement. I don't know if they do screen replacements, and I don't know if you get the phone lost, if they cover for replacements in that sense, or if the phone is stolen. But still a pretty good deal. Peace of mind. If you're in the refurbished market, you're not looking to spend all the money for a flagship of today. You're not even looking to spend, you don't want to spend on, say, like a Moto G7 or something like that, $200, $250, whatever the price of that is. You want a solid flagship from the past. I mean, you can get good deals out there. So it's something to think about. Hope you're enjoying the soothing sounds of the great outdoors, the gentle breeze, and the wildlife. Sorry again, I had to do this voice over here with the problems that we have with the audio, but a couple of things and then I'll go ahead and conclude this video. Again, flagships of the past. Two things to consider about the HTC One M9. One is that if you do get this phone, now I don't know if this is an issue with the phone being on the network, it's a minor thing, but kind of an annoyance. You get full screen ads. I think that's what I'm illustrating there. Full screen ads. It takes up the entire screen. About every 30 minutes to an hour, you'll just get an ad to pop up, cover up the screen. And you have a little X to close it out, but that gets a little old after a while. It happens when I'm connected to the network. This is a Verizon USA phone. When I'm connected to the network, here comes the ads. When I'm just on Wi-Fi and I don't have a SIM card inside, no ads. So that's one thing to think about. Second thing to think about is that this phone runs very warm. It runs very warm under pressure. So if you've got video playing, if you're doing games or whatever, that's when you really see it run very warm. Or even when it's charging, it tends to run warm. It's nothing alarming, but just something to keep in mind. With the flagships of today, the phones of today, I guess they have better internals, better cooling. So this one back then, not that there's anything, again, that's going to be harmful to you or anything that's going to be something that would dissuade you from wanting to get this phone, but it is just something to think about, something to consider once again. So again, flagships of the past, the HTC One M9, a good value. Thank you very much for watching, and this is Keep It Simple Phone Tech.